Hi, my name is Ben Beckworth. It is February 8th, 2024, and it's with great trepidation that I make this video in response to the public forum held in Washington County last night for the candidates for District Attorney of Washington County. In that forum, there was a lot of question, suggestion, and implication made as to the motivation of defense attorneys who would financially contribute to a campaign for district attorney or prosecutor. Um, and while I cannot speak for all the defense attorneys who have contributed um, to, in response to those, as an honest answer to those questions, and in response to the heavy implications that was made, I feel like it is um, obliged upon me to make reasoning for my own contributions um, to the campaign for Dave Bunger for district attorney. Uh, Much of what was said at the forum last night I will set aside and keep as my own private opinions. But since I feel that, well, it's not just a feeling, it's a fact that my character, morality, and motivations were called into question, I offer this explanation. I will walk through my thoughts and reasonings for every decision I have made during this campaign. Um, so start with the fact that for the first time in my voting career, I had two candidates running for the same office that I knew both of them personally, respected both of them, like both of them, and as far as my side is concerned, will remain friends with both of them after this election. And so with that problem for the first time in my voting career, I had to work through who I was going to vote for. And this caused some internal turmoil for me in making that decision. Until it occurred to me that an election is really nothing more than a very complex job interview. So I approached it from that uh, perspective. I sat down and I thought about, okay, if I were in charge of hiring for the position of DA in Washington County, and two of my friends were in the running, were interviewing with me to make that decision, who would I choose? And since I've been legally opposed to both of these candidates, I've worked with both of these candidates for joint interests on some things. I've been on the opposite side of family law cases from Dave. I've been on the opposite side of criminal cases from Derek. I've been able to watch both of them work cases, and in no small part, I've considered both of them mentors in my career over the last 7 years. Um, so I've got a wealth of information that perhaps a lot of people don't have in making a decision for who's better for that office. Also, as a defense attorney, I get to see the inner workings of that office, their outlooks, their viewpoints. I have a bachelor's from the University of Texas at Tyler in criminal justice, so I've got a wealth of information on how criminal justice works and criminology works, and have those viewpoints. So I have a lot of data points where I could make that decision. And it became very clear as I was sorting through my information and my knowledge of that position and those two individuals, both of whom I respect and like, that Dave was much more qualified at this point in his life to be the elected district attorney of Washington County. Um, so that's what I was faced with. Now, what I really wanted to happen, and I think would have been an excellent resolution to the whole mess, is that Derek would recognize that he would drop out of the race and become Dave's first assistant, as he's first assistant now. The benefits to that, in my mind, and I didn't share this with anybody, was that Derek would then be given an opportunity to continue to grow his perspectives, his viewpoints, see the way another experienced attorney handled the caseload and the problems that came up in the district attorney's office from a different viewpoint, get a few more years and some more experience behind him, and then as Dave was finished, Derek would be that much more qualified to run again and take that role in a few years. To me, that option, in my opinion, is what is best for Washington County. That would be best for Washington County. Unfortunately, largely based off of what I heard and saw last night, I don't think that could be a possibility anymore, and that deeply saddens me. So now I had made my decision on who was better qualified, who better suited that job, and because I have more data with which to make that decision than a lot of other people in Washington County, not everyone. I think that I was ready to go forward, and there was some burden on me, I thought, to explain that to people who asked. So I'd made up my mind, how do I make this a public statement, or do I keep it to myself just for the voting block? So I wrestled with that, and what I decided was, those who care about my opinion, I will explain my reasoning to. But I'm not going to make it public. I'm not going to do yard signs or anything like that. I'll just do that. And then the more I thought about those differences, the disparity in qualifications that I had assessed, I said, no, I really do think that Dave will be better for Washington County, and there's a burden on me to do something about that, and I wasn't sure. I've never contributed financially to a political campaign. I've never had yard signs for contested elections at all. I've always had a Republican bend and leaned that way, and I've been pretty open about that. I tend to vote conservative. So, but I've never publicly backed a candidate, particularly in this small town. But that created problems for me because I know Derek. I have a lot of respect for Derek. I consider him a friend, and so what was that going to be? And the more I thought about that, the more, again, I just kind of decided that I'll keep it quiet and it'll be my own voting criteria. Well, more and more it came upon me that Washington County deserves to have the best qualified district attorney. And so I thought, well, I can contribute a little bit of money. I don't have a lot, but I can contribute a little bit of money to that. And I wanted to do that. But I decided not to because all of us lawyers know that our contributions are going to be public. And I was afraid that if Derek won and knew that I contributed money to Dave's campaign, that he would be at least socially hold that against me. And anybody that knows Dave, the idea that he would be swayed by campaign contributions is just ridiculous to his personality. And also that if this is such a small pond as far as defense lawyers are concerned, that the idea that any defense lawyer could carry favor with the prosecutor just for campaign donations, it's ridiculous. It doesn't hold up. There's no way that wouldn't be blatantly obvious on its face as soon as it began. But what did concern me was the relational damage it would do, and the damage it would do to my clients as far as plea offers would go if if Derek won anyway. And that's the same thing that all of us face. So to have the implication that um, that there would be favor from one candidate based on a contribution is, in my mind, negated by the fact that there's an equal fear that if I lose, there will be negative contributions. So the attorneys that are playing the political game are the ones that contribute to both. And then that raises some questions, and that's not a moral judgment against that either. There's valid reasons for doing that, I think. But in only contributing to one campaign, you also run the risk of at least social retribution from the other campaign. And none of the attorneys that I know have sponsored Dave are stupid, and so we all know that, and we've all factored that into our calculations. Um, but for that reason, I wasn't going to do it, and I put it off 3 or 4 days, knowing that that's what was right for me to do. Um, I didn't do it for fear of that. And then one morning I woke up and I was driving into my office, and the thought hit me that the reason that was keeping me from contributing was exactly the reason I had to contribute. And I couldn't argue myself out of it anymore. So that's when I got out my checkbook. I wrote a check for Dave's campaign and contributed it with his treasurer. Um, and then my position was, well, how public do I make my support of Dave in this? And I came back to the same answer: is, well, I've contributed it. Anybody that cares to look will look. Frankly, it never even crossed my mind that people would go and look, and that would be a topic of this discussion. And I thought that if anybody that did go and look at it would say, I think it's interesting that those professionals, those defense attorneys with the best view at that job are voting this way. Maybe I should think about that. Why is it the people who know the most about this position are supporting one candidate over the other? That's the logic I thought was going to flow with that, if anybody cared at all. But then my response was still going to be to keep it to myself unless asked, in my position as someone who knows more about what goes on in that office than many other people. And if somebody came to me asking my opinion based on the knowledge that I had, my expertise, if you will, then I would give that to them. And I carried on with that for a while. And some people did ask. And I said, well, I think they're both good men. I think I'm friends with both of them. I hate to have this dilemma, but when I look at it, based on everything I know about both candidates, I think Dave is a much better candidate for this office than Derek is right now. And I left it at that. Until last night, and what happened last night is that my worst fears about contributing came true. It was made not only clear what Derek's view on attorneys who contributed to Dave's campaign were, what his views on us were, and his disdain's probably too strong of a word, but definitely his view of defense attorneys came through strong, which is doesn't seem like there's much respect for us there. But I'm not here to read into his motivation, so I won't. But then also the heavy implication that I was immoral and unethical, both in my person for being a defense attorney, but specifically for backing the man that I thought was best for that position, forced me into the public to give my answers and my reasoning for the decisions that I've made. Um, I still, even at the time of making this video, um, know that I I'm not going to receive any dispensation from Dave. I think it has been made very publicly clear that I will receive and have received negative feedback from Derek for my beliefs. Um, I'm still not telling anybody how they should vote. I still consider both men my friends. Um, but I hope that this offer of my reasonings and the journey that I have been down as I weigh these two candidates um, will shed light into the thinking of at least this defense attorney who has chosen to back Dave Bunger. I am still choosing to keep the ins and outs of my opinion on their qualifications and why I believe Dave is better for that option to myself. I'm not willing to release that to the public at this time, but I am happy to answer any questions that anyone has. I'm not hard to find about my professional opinions on which of these two individuals is going to be best for Washington County, which is the county where I plan to live and I plan to continue to raise my kids and have every hope for a stronger and better Washington County. I hope this helps to clear up some of the confusion, and I wish, regardless of who wins next month, I wish both candidates the ability to move on from their life, with their life, in whatever role God has for them, to the best of their abilities, and the happiest and best future for both of them, wherever God has them. Thank you.